Right on, writers. Welcome to the Books by Adrian Author platform. This is TUBER Book Club, where we read, discuss, and review books written by author tubers. I am your host, Adrian Santiago, and we're going to have a great time today talking to the author of our latest read, The One That Got Away, ? Let's kick it. All right, y'all. So thank you all so very much for being here today. I already see people in the comments. I'm going to shout you out in just a few minutes. I want to also thank everybody who participated in the poll for the next Tuber Book Club read. Thank you so much for doing so. It was very last minute because I goofed up and completely forgot to put up the poll for 2 whole weeks. I put it up yesterday, but weirdly enough, it created like urgency and everybody kind of hopped on it. And we had like one of the best turnouts for our polls ever. So awesome stuff. I'm really excited to announce the winner of the poll, but that's at the end of the show because we're here to talk about The One That Got Away. That guy. All right, let's bring in my illustrious co-hosts. First, the hostess with the mostest, Shannon SD Houston. Please do the intro.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shannon. I write under the pen name of SC Houston. I have a YouTube channel here on YouTube under the name of SC Houston. I publish fantasy and fantasy romance. I currently have my current book is A Curse of Scales and Feathers on Indiegogo. It is on demand, so you can buy it, and it will be released as it becomes available. And a lot of the e-files are already available. And I'm also the founder and conference chair of the AuthorTube Writing Conference, which is gearing up for its 3rd year. We have right over a month when the applications will open for the 3rd year for speakers to sign up. And it's only going to be open for 30 days this time instead of, I think we had it open for 2.5 months last time. So shorter time period. Maybe it'll create that FOMO like the poll did. So maybe we'll have more people sign up. But yeah, looking forward to that. I'm also 1/3 of the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks podcast with Ben Pick from Running to Write, who's also a co-host on this show, and Morgan Lee. And we have an episode coming out today in a couple of hours. And it's a very short one. It's like 4 minutes long with everything. So yeah, it's a short one, but it's a very interesting tip, which I've actually already given it to Adrian, so it'll be something not new for him. So
right on. Thank you, Shannon. Welcome as always. Next up, we have the dude that can run for miles and miles, Senor Ben Pick. Do the thing.
Yeah, I'm Ben Pick, Running to Write. Every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, I give questionable writing advice through writing metaphors. This past week, I had Lori Thorne on, who is an indie author, and she just published her book. It comes out today. It's not her debut novel, but it is a wonderful, wonderful romance story around the Christmas holidays, which we are starting to roll into. So consider checking out the video, consider checking out last night's episode, and then consider checking out Lori Thorne, the author.
Right on, dude. Our 4th could not be here today, Bethany Volta. She had a family emergency, so our thoughts are with her and in her travels and everything that she's going to be going through. So, Bethany, we're with you. It's all good. All right. We're going to bring out Emma Bennet in just a minute. I almost forgot, though. I wrote a book. Go buy it and stuff. It's a sci-fi fantasy series. It's a murder mystery plot in the first novel. It's freaking thick. Enjoy. It's good stuff. Links downstairs, I think. I don't even know if whatever. All right. Welcome the awesome author of this awesome book, Miss Emma Bennet. Yay! Howdy doody. How are you today, Emma? Introduce yourself to everybody. Tell them where they can find you and all that good stuff.
I am good. Thank you guys so much for reading my book. And that little intro video is the best thing that I have ever seen ever. I'm Emma Bennet. I write kissing books, basically, as well as some non-fiction for writers now and children's picture books, but mainly Kissing books, they're all available on Amazon. Most of them are on Kindle Unlimited. And I also have a YouTube channel. It's Emma Bennet Romance or Emma Bennet Author or something like that. It's easy to find. I'm sure that Adrian has put the link down in the description, but come and check it out if you haven't already.
I love that you never know what your YouTube
I
username is.
don't know. I don't know these things. I'm the talent. I'm not supposed to know these things.
You're the talent. Oh, okay, cool. Now, you mentioned that you are now writing nonfiction. So before we get into the interview part of the show, I just wanted to give you a chance to tell everybody, because it is proper time. This is Preptober. NaNoWriMo is coming up. Please tell everybody what you have just published.
Yeah, so I've just published 2 books in the last couple of weeks. The first one is a guide to Twitter for writers who don't really like social media and don't want to spend their lives on it, but do want to make the most of being on Twitter in particular, which can be absolutely fantastic for writers. So it's just a short little guide. There's no kind of extra padding in there at all. It's just all the tips and tricks that you need to make the most of Twitter in the least possible time. And then just a few days ago came my guide to NaNoWriMo. It is called Write, Eat, Sleep, Repeat. Fantastic title, thanks to my sister. And yeah, it is a guide to how to win NaNoWriMo, all those little things that you can do to set you up for success.
Brilliant and wonderful. I cannot wait to check that one out, because I'm actually going to do NaNoWriMo this year.
Me too.
Yay!
I'm terrified.
Ben,
I'm terrified.
you 3?
I'm doing it a little different. No, not Ben. He's like, I'm too busy. I don't got time for that shit.
Yeah. Like I always say, work usually picks up November, especially December. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
January is a good writing month, though.
See, January?
January?
Mhm.
Oh.
Ooh.
You'll have to make your own nano for January.
You and I could do another nano on January, because I was kind of planning on that.
Why don't we just come up with, well, no, I'm going to be on vacation the first half of the month. But anyways, I'll say we could come up with our own challenge and do a
scheduling
challenge.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. That's awesome. For everybody in the chat, if you have questions for Miss Emma Bennet, please put those in the chat. Yeah, so NaNoWriMo, I'm actually 50K is short for me as far as novels go. So instead of writing a novel, I'm going to use it to write the 5 short stories that I've been trying to write all year. I'm going to knock them all out next month, 10K for each story, 5 stories, boom, and then publish that early next year. And that way I'll have a new book out, and that would be awesome. All right. So, Emma, you're in the hot seat today. We're talking about your book. We read it. We discussed it. I'm sorry that I couldn't make it 2 weeks ago. Y'all know, stuff happens. But I was here in spirit. I was in the chat, and I'm gonna go ahead and go first, because I've
It's your show.
All right.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, why not? So with Iris, which first of all is the name of my aunt. So the whole time, like, I was picturing her, even though she doesn't look anything like her. Every time I saw Iris, I would have to like replace her image with, it was a whole thing. But so with Iris, I entirely relate to what she did at the beginning of this book, with the whole like taking off and wanting to protect the kid and keeping the secret and all that stuff. I can relate to it as a parent. And yet it was incredibly frustrating, and like just like makes my cackles rise, as they say. So where did that particular issue for a character come from for you? Because that it really does tug you in directions when you're reading this. Where did this whole like secret daughter, keep away from the father thing come from for you for this story?
So bear in mind that this book was written quite a long time ago. Okay, this wasn't a book that I finished just a few months ago. I think 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I finished it, something like that. From what I remember, it was actually Sergio, the hero, that kind of came to me first. And the idea of him, he's quite a domineering character. And then, like, this woman, Iris, she's very young, and she doesn't think that she stands a chance against him if he decides that he wants to take her daughter. She doesn't think that he's interested in her at all, but he does like to have his own way. He does like to be in charge of things. And she doesn't actually know him that well, at all. But she's not going to take any chances, which you wouldn't. You wouldn't with your kid, would you?
No, you'd be very protective. Yeah. Who wants to go next? Shannon?
Sure. So I know you're a mom of 4 boys. Of course, when you first wait. I wanted to ask this question, but when was the very first time you published? What was the first year you published this? Because I found 2014, but now I think I'm wrong.
No, I think that's right.
Oh, is
I think
it?
that is right. I think my first book was out 2013 because it's been 10 years.
Okay.
And that book was self-published, and then I wrote this book and sent it off to a publisher, and they took on this book as well as my first book.
Gotcha. Okay, so knowing that you are a mom of 4 boys, and I don't know, your boys are older, so you probably had most of them back then.
Yeah, all of them.
Okay. What made you choose to have a daughter as the child in the book? I mean, was it wish fulfillment anyway, or I mean, you said it was a while since you wrote it, so maybe you don't remember, but
yeah, I think I was always very much a daddy's girl, and I've always loved that kind of dynamic between father and daughter. I think it's a very, very special relationship. It's so protective, and so I just thought it would be really nice to see that play out with him kind of coming into this little girl's life, not having known her at all, and trying to form this attachment with her. So I just thought that would kind of be quite fun to explore.
I have boys myself, and it's yeah, you heard it. And so I found it a really beautiful relationship to read about, one that I haven't experienced myself, and one that I was honestly scared of. When you find out your wife's pregnant, one of the first thoughts as a father is, oh my God, what if it's a girl? What are we gonna do? And then a buddy of mine actually gave me this crystallizing moment where he was like, I'm more scared of having boys. And I asked him why. And he's like, well, because I have to raise a good man. You have to raise that boy into a good man. You have a girl that, yes, you're a father and you have to be protective, and et cetera, but raising a good woman is ultimately the mom's job. She has to lead by example. It's the father's job to lead by example, to be a good man, and that's pressure. So it was interesting to read about the exact opposite of my experience with boys, and read a relationship between a father and daughter. That was really nice. Ben, how about you? Any questions for Miss Emma?
Yeah, I can go a little bit more lighthearted. It seems like you have some very strong opinions about the various settings that took place in this book. So did you do any specific sightseeing tours to try and get in there? Because you did capture some of those settings extremely well. I'm just wondering if you did an on-site visit to try and get ideas, or if you did a vacation there and then you decided to just throw it into a novel. And also whether or not you make London sound so dreary.
Well, yeah, I lived for 23 years in London, and generally it's wonderful, but it is also quite dreary. Yes, I love Catalonia. It's beautiful, beautiful country. Barcelona is an amazing, vibrant city, and I've loved spending time there. And the people are just absolutely amazing. So it definitely drew upon those experiences. I had an au pair who was from just outside Barcelona, and visiting her as an adult and spending time with her family definitely inspired a lot of Sergio's relationships with his family members and where his mother lives and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Way to go with pronouncing it correctly as well. Barcelona.
Oh, thank you.
For anybody in the chat, well, just a reminder, if you do have questions for Miss Emma, label it with a Q so I can easily find it in the chat. So on the topic of the correct pronunciation of Barcelona, I also felt that you really accurately captured, let's say, a Latino father. They're, they can...
There's something.
Yeah, we're a force to be reckoned with, for sure. So talk a little bit about that. Where did this character of Sergio come from? Where and did you have to do research about family dynamics in Latin culture, because I gotta say, you kind of nailed it.
Oh, thank you very much. I think I definitely wanted him to be Spanish, and I definitely wanted him to be a very strong character, so that there would be this just between him and Iris, because she's quite quiet. She kind of just gets on with things. You know, she's got her little life. She's got her job. She's kind of all sorted. And she's not happy, but she's kind of content. She's getting on with things. And then you've got Sergio, who just comes in and throws it all into disarray and doesn't even feel bad about it, because he knows what's best, not just for his daughter, but for the mother of his daughter as well. So definitely a few people that I know in real life kind of gave me inspiration for his character and played into it. They'll be aware of who they are and the moments that I took from it, and they're completely understanding about that.
Yeah, we don't need to name names or anything.
No, we're not naming any names.
I mean,
unless you want to.
it was a decade ago, so I doubt we know any of these people.
Good point. Go ahead and name names.
I would. All right, so I don't know, Adrian, do you want to go ahead and sorry, I was good.
Well, no, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and address this comment, because it's funny, because I was just talking about this with my mother. You know, now that I'm a parent, I had my first moment with my mother recently where she said something to one of my kids that made me go, "Hey!" and I jumped on her about it and did the whole "these are my kids," you know, kind of thing. But instead of doing it like that, like I just said, I was actually really calm, and we talked about it and you know, parent to parent about parenting and stuff. And one of the things that came out of my mouth that I didn't realize until I said it was that babies tend to come out just freaking perfect and just full of life and personality already. Both of my boys had personality in the womb that I was very aware of, that permeates to this day. And so I told her, I was like, they come out great, and then we screw them up. Anything that goes wrong, that's on us. Any bad habits, anything that is something that they're going to end up working on in therapy later on, that comes from us. That's our fault.
Unless
they came out perfect.
That's a lot of pressure.
It's not the same. Yeah.
Even as neurodivergent, my son is autistic and ADHD. I have ADHD. My wife is autistic. So even
mine has all of that too, and anxiety, but he was not a happy baby. He was not. He came out upset at the world.
My oldest, the autistic one, we took one of those 3D photos of him in the womb, and this was his face. Just a stank face in the womb.
Yeah.
So yeah, but still perfect. So anyway, anyway, Shannon, your turn.
Oh, okay. So I have known from talking to Emma before that this was not the original cover and title. I did put the original title into the chat there, His Secret Daughter. And I didn't know she actually had two different covers at one point. I just found the one. I just thought it was a one, which she can show you the two different covers.
This was the original. If I move it to the side, we can see.
And so this is the one. That's the original. Okay, that's the one I found first. So if that's the original one, did you made the cover and picked out the title for that?
This one was completely my publisher. The original title that I came up with was The Spaniard's Secret Daughter, and they changed it to His Secret Daughter.
Okay.
And then they did that cover, and then I left that publishers because I wasn't able to write. I had really stupid problem with this ear. I wasn't able to write basically, and so I left my publisher because I felt bad because I couldn't produce any books. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. They were lovely about it, but I felt bad, and I was like, I can't do this, and So anyway, then when I got better, I self-published my books that I'd had out with them, and it became His Secret Daughter with this cover, which I kind of love. I kind of love Iris like this.
Yeah.
I'm very, very fond of this cover, actually.
And then
And then last year, when I signed with my publishers, they changed the title and did this cover.
So my question then would be, I know there were some questions in there because I thought I had it straight, but I didn't have it straight when we were talking behind the scenes, and we're like, let's save those questions for on the floor. But my question is, how much input did you have in naming your book and your cover? And of course, you did now 2 different publishers. I thought it was only one when I made my question. And are you happy with it?
I am happy with it. I mean, like when they changed, I didn't know that they were going to change the name until I was kind of sent an email, and they're always really, really lovely. They were like, these are the thoughts we've had. Like, you know, publishing has moved on since it first came out, and we feel that this works better for your brands, and we think that readers will prefer this name and this kind of cover. Are you happy with this? And I was. I mean, I don't know, if I'd said no, I absolutely hate it, then I'm not sure quite how far they would have gone to kind of make me happy. But as it was, I was like, yeah, you know, I trust you guys. It looks good to me. You guys know what's going on in the publishing industry way more than I do. So let's go with that.
Cool.
Well, on the topic of the cover, you know, a lot of the story is represented in that one image, the plane, you know, like all of it kind of feeds into it. I guess my question is, how much input did you have into including all of those things? And also, on that same topic, has that question mark become a problem for you at all? Because every time that I wrote your title into a sentence, I would have to include the question mark, and it changes the sentence into a question. And it would really mess
I like
with
it better as an affirmative sentence too, and not a question.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I like the question. Yeah. I was kind of like, question mark? No, but I always go question mark. But there was an episode of Sex and the City with Carrie Bradshaw, and she's on the front of some magazine, and it was called something like, the magazine, like the title for the piece was something like Single and Fabulous or something, and then there was a question mark, and she says there was no question mark implied, and so it always makes me think of that. So it kind of always makes me smile when I go, oh, yeah, question mark. There was no question mark implied. No, I mean, I didn't have any input into the cover at all, apart from the fact that, so when I signed with my publisher last year, I actually just sent them one book that hadn't been published, and they came back and they said, yeah, we want to sign for that, but we also, would you be happy for us to sign for all your previous books as well that you have self-published? And so then when I was like, yeah, okay. And I had a load of, yeah, fine. I had a load of forms and things that I needed to fill out for like their design department and things like that. So just kind of describing my brand, sending them anything kind of about me that I thought was pertinent, describing the story to them, any kind of themes, because obviously like the design department aren't going to sit there and read through all of my books. Like I appreciate that ain't going to happen. So it was a case of trying to get across to them, you know, obviously they had like the synopsis and the blurb, but also, yeah, I kind of told them any themes and, you know, settings and things like that as well, so that they had that to work with.
Ben?
Yeah, sure. So we had a lot of thoughts about the characters in the story, you know, the family particularly. So I want to know how you feel about the characters that you created, and specifically their familial bond.
Ooh, as in Iris and Sergio, or as in like Sergio and his family?
I was thinking the main one, I would say. So Sergio and Iris.
Yeah. Okay. So Sergio and Iris, I mean, I think they're made for each other. They're definitely made for each other. But they had their own opinions about how they were going to get together, honestly. Like, I tried to keep those two under control when I was writing them, and they had other ideas about what was going to happen. The scene with the wedding, which I don't want to give any spoilers at all, but that was not planned. Right. I knew, like, I vaguely knew what was going to happen, and it just didn't happen the way that I did at all. I was just writing, and I was like, no, this isn't right. Like, I don't want to give away spoilers for anybody who hasn't read it. But
Well,
the
I mean, if
other
they're following
person-
this, we gave away spoilers all last week.
Yeah,
Oh,
we,
okay.
we drove through the entire book chapter by chapter last week.
Yeah,
So.
But
okay, fair enough.
they might
Yeah.
not have caught up on. They might not be fully caught up
No.
on books by Adrian, so we don't need to. We don't
It's
need to
up
go
to-
out of our
it's
way
up
to
to you.
spoil it.
Yeah.
Basically, it was going to be
Within
Iris who leaves at the wedding. Iris was finally going to stand up for herself and say, like, no, this isn't right. You don't love me like I deserve to be loved. I get that you want to be with your daughter, but this isn't enough for me to be in this relationship, and I'm going to leave. But what it came down to is that Iris loves him so much that she was going to go through with that. That was going to be enough for her, was what I decided, and she wasn't going to be the one who walked away, but it was going to be Sergio, because in the end he can't do it. He cannot force her to marry him, despite the fact that he likes to boss everybody around. That was kind of one step too far for him after all that they've been through, and he couldn't do it. And I definitely think that was the right choice to go with, and kind of meant that the reader knows at the end that they're both in the decision to make the choice to be together. If you like, nobody's being coerced into it. Everybody's there going, yeah, okay, love you.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it rang so true reading that particular section of the book because again, going back to Sergio being, you know, a Latin man and family being so important to Latin people in general, myself included.
Why is everyone leaving? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Why is
They're just
leaving?
quiet.
Oh my God.
You know what? We don't need them. I'm going to kick them out. No.
Okay.
Shannon heard. She's like, "Oh yeah, I got to do this." No, but yeah, with family being so important to the Latin culture in general, I know so many folks who, due to an unplanned pregnancy, ended up just, well, we got to get married. That's what happens. We're going to have a baby. We got to be a family. We got to get married. And they got married, and sure enough, a few years later, trouble, divorce, this and that. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, what's the right thing to do? Yeah, you need to be there for the kid. You need to support the family, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're not right as a couple, you're not going to be able to make this thing work. That's going to be actually worse than if you were just, you know. So I don't know. It was very interesting to me, this conundrum that he had to, kind of unravel in his own brain, where, like, on one hand, his family, I'm sure, is like pushing him to, like, no, you better marry this girl. You got a baby. You got to do the thing. And meanwhile, he's like, this isn't the right way to do this. So very cool.
I just feel like he could have pushed back, though, a little bit on his family, like not a whole lot. Like he said, okay, how about not like this weekend, or not in 2 weeks or whatever time.
He could have. He could have, but it is believable that he didn't, because again, as you know, the Latin family dynamic. It's this idea of, like, you know, the higher ups in your family are like beating down on you, and you fighting back is really hard. Like it is pretty hard. I
guess it just depends on your family structure, but knowing that it's a tight family, I guess I could see that. I don't have that type of family, so not hard to push back when family's being wrong for me.
Sure.
But I don't know if I can ask a question.
Of course you can.
Sorry, it was a medical phone call. I thought I was going to get it earlier today. I had called them. They said, someone will call you. And I'm like, oh, great. It's going to happen during the show, isn't it? And of course it did. So my question is,
okay.
Yeah. So my question is, I guess this is a little more on a personal level here, but I noticed, like, we know now that you did go there. That was one of my questions, by the way, was to ask if you had done a lot of research on what your research looked like for the locations, especially outside of England and the UK. But I don't think I've ever met, like, or never heard you talk about your husband. That could just be me having missed those points when you talked about your husband. But you always start off your videos like, hola, amigos. And I'm like, she really loves the Spanish language, or is her husband possibly Spanish?
No, he's not at all. I don't even know why I started doing that. It was just some stupid thing that I did on, like, my first video. I think I was just really nervous, and like rubbish came out of my mouth, and I was like, yeah, me being me, I was like, yeah, we'll go with it. I'm stuck with that. There we go. And now I go to writers' conferences, and from across the room I hear, "Oh, amiga, you watch my channel."
I That's awesome.
Anonymous with Emma Bennet.
Oh, now I'm looking forward to the first day I walk into a convention. Somebody goes, "Right on, Raiders."
It's incredibly embarrassing.
Sounds like it, but I would probably enjoy the embarrassment. That's awesome. What a catchphrase.
Right?
Honestly,
That-
there is no reason behind it. It was just something that I randomly said. My husband is Welsh, which is why I live in Wales.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the panelists?
Yeah, I have another one.
Please go.
Okay. If you wrote this story today, because it is a whole decade after you've written it, what one thing would you change?
Ooh. I don't know. I mean, I guess there might be kind of more use of mobile phones and stuff. I suppose, like, just from like a practical point of view, from the actual what would be in the book, maybe. I mean, I think I actually read an article in The Guardian a few weeks ago, and it was writers talking about how much they hated technology because it messes up stories, and in particular kind of detective stories and things as well. And it's like, well, yeah, also like in this case, would so many misunderstandings happen? Like if you can just kind of text someone and they text back. I mean, like we did have texting at this time, but it wasn't as prevalent. And I'm not sure that Iris is really a kind of technical kind of person. Actually, I don't think I'd really change anything to do with the actual storyline. I mean, bear in mind that I have had time to edit these books and to go over them and switch up. My first two books in particular, The Greenhouse of Home, my first story, that's had 4 covers, I think. Is it 4 or is it 5 maybe? 5 with there's like a double thing that it was in with it's got a sequel. And so there was like a paperback. Yeah, with both of them, and that had a different cover. But you know, so obviously, like I edited it when it first came out, and my publishers did, and then I went through it again when I was self-publishing it, and then it was gone through again when it was published again last year. So it has had quite a few going throughs. There have been plenty of chances for me to change stuff, and I haven't really ever felt like, oh, I don't like that. I need to switch things up. Yeah.
Having already published it and then self-publishing it and then republishing it again through a publisher, were there any big changes in the pages of the book itself during those 3 different publishings?
No, hardly
Just the
anything. It was the cover, and it was like copy edits, just fiddling around with a few things. There weren't any big edits at all.
Sorry. Now, I know the answer to this question, but I think it's fascinating, and I think it would be interesting for any audience who's watching to know how the process you went through with this. But you have reviews, and you had reviews on your books that were picked up by your new publisher, the books you already had out. Mm-hmm. And I know you had to go through a process like this book has like over 3,000 reviews on it alone. So I know it was a process for you to try to get Amazon to recognize that it was the same book and to carry those reviews over. So you can tell us like what that process was like when you're trying to keep the same reviews.
Yeah, it was really strange because some of the reviews switched over when the new edition was out last year, but some of them didn't. There were, I can't remember, it was like 700 or something reviews were definitely missing, and probably more than that because then new reviews were coming in for this new edition of it. So it was going up steadily, but I could tell that there was still a lot of them that weren't there. So I was onto Amazon like practically daily. My only advice to anybody wanting to deal with this kind of thing is just be really annoying. Really, really annoying, so that it's easier for them to help you. But they kept saying, oh yeah, they're all there, and I'm going, no, they're not. Look, I've got this screenshot from here with this edition of the book, and it's got this number of reviews, and then here's a screenshot of this one. You know, all of these reviews are missing. Oh, yes, okay, we've linked them properly, we've sorted it, great, and they wouldn't be. And then finally, I'm afraid to say, I got a woman, and she dealt with it in about 2 minutes flat. And she was bizarrely confident, which actually put me off. And she was like, yeah, don't worry, like, they haven't done it right, I've done it. I was like, okay, yeah, fine, great, thanks. Like, be back in touch again in a few days. And then the next day I looked, and boom, all the reviews were there. But then it was actually really weird, because now the Goodreads ratings and things are linked with Amazon, aren't they?
Yeah.
So then once it was linked up properly, all these other reviews kept coming on. And so it was like every day I'd look and there's like another 150 reviews or something coming on. I was like, whoa, like, because I didn't know that had happened. I was like, what's going on? Like, have they messed up or something? Are they like, have they connected it to some other book? Am I getting reviews that I shouldn't have? But then somebody pointed out to me, oh, it's the Goodreads ones that are coming through now. So
it's a good problem to have. Like, just
oh, I got 150 more reviews. Oh, where did they come from?
Yeah, but I'm ridiculously honest, and in my head I'm like stealing those reviews from somebody. I don't know. I was like, no, like if they're not mine, I shouldn't have them.
It's the other one that got away. They're linking you to it.
Yeah, the one without the question mark.
I think this is a good place to note that you should take screenshots of your reviews, how many you have and stuff like that, because I mean, I don't even have 100 reviews yet, but I should be over 80 and I'm under 80. I'm over 70, but I'm under 80, but I was over 80 at one point and I lost reviews and I don't even know which ones I lost. I just remember seeing the number and then seeing it go down. So
it's so
I
annoying.
have very few. I have so few reviews.
It's a slow process, you know, do you just keep, you know, putting your book in front of people and eventually they'll
they come, but also, like, you know, I mean, I have no idea how much money my publishing company put behind this book. I don't know, but you know, I see adverts for it on Facebook, I see adverts for it on Instagram, and you know, they're doing BookBub things and stuff like that. You know, it's very, very hard for somebody who doesn't have, first of all, you don't have the money to be able to put into it, but also don't know exactly where to put the money. So you might go, okay, I'm going to spend, you know, £200 or something doing advertising, but it is incredibly hard, as we all know, to know exactly where to put that money so that you're actually going to get, you know, your money's worth.
And just not where, but how. I mean, it's a little bit easier on Amazon ads, but like Facebook and BookBub, you're creating the entire ad. So like, how do you create that? Or if you have a company behind you, they have their own resources and knowledge base to work off of. So
yeah, all of that was actually going to be my next question, because you hear all these folks talking about traditional publishing companies and how little they do for marketing the book. It sounds like yours is particularly behind yours. So what has that marketing process been like for this and other books for you? Like, are you seeing that hard work? It sounds like you're seeing that hard work on the side of your publisher, and it sounds like maybe you didn't see that from the original publisher. Can you talk about maybe the differences?
I did. The original publisher, it's actually the same publisher. Sorry, I should have said that. It's actually the same publisher
I did wonder about
that I went back to. But I was with another publisher. It's really, really complicated. No, to begin with, no, they were absolutely amazing, fantastic. Pushed it. Did all the right stuff, and that's when it got most of its sales. When it first came out in the kind of first year or so, it was the number one ebook in Australia, and it sold an awful lot of copies.
I did see that
when it came out again. You know, obviously, then they're not gonna push it quite so much the next time, especially because I was having 5 books out with them in the space of 2.5 months or something. They were doing like a fast release of my older ones and then bringing out the new one in January this year. So the releasing of the old ones was really leading up to the new one, Falling in Love at Nightingale Farm. But they've still, I can't remember with this, because I've got quite a few books. I can't remember with this one what they did, but they've definitely had BookBub deals for at least 2 of them, for example. And yeah, like I say, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, their social media manager, her name is Sasha, and she was actually a booktuber. And I interviewed her a little while ago, and she's absolutely fantastic. And she'd been making TikToks about my books and posting them on my publisher's social media and stuff. And she gave me a couple of them that I was able to use on my YouTube channel and things. So they do. Yeah, they do a huge amount. It was so funny, actually, because one of them is like really swanky, and people kept saying to me like, wow, that's so cool. How did you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
I didn't do anything.
I can't do that. That is beyond my capabilities. I'm capable of turning a camera on myself and speaking sometimes in coherent sentences. I am not capable of all of these special things. They're also kind of very proactive. So when sales started to slow down with my books, they put together a box set of them to try to entice new readers ready for my Christmas book, which is going to be out next month. And that's done really, really well as well. That was like the #1 box sets in something in the UK on Amazon and things. So they really seem to be kind of thinking outside the box. Even though they're a very big publisher now, they're the largest independent publisher in the UK by title count. I think that's right. So they've got a lot of authors and stuff now to deal with. But yeah,
That's awesome.
they're really good. I recommend them.
On the subject of reviews and marketing, everybody who is a Tuber Book Club member, this is your friendly reminder. Please, 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 now that we have read the book, write a review. I will be posting mine tonight. Normally I'm off work Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but somebody called out. So after I'm done here, I'm headed into work, and I'll be typing up a review while I'm there. So please do that.
Oh, thank you.
One and all in one.
Yes.
I think I just saw something. Oh, it was cool.
Oh, thank
All right.
you.
And then the link is in there, and I will.
I forgot to add the link. I dropped it there.
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna try to do the thing. It's in there, but I'm gonna pin it to the top. Bear with me. Any other questions for our illustrious guest while I'm doing this thing?
Nope.
Does anybody hate this like heart thing that they added into the chat? It's freaking annoying when I'm trying to pin a comment that's on the bottom and the heart is in the way.
Annoying.
Why
Yeah.
did it? It's the worst. All right, it is now pinned. Thank you to Eloise for actually posting a comment in there, which pushed it up, and I got it. Okay, sorry. Next question.
Thank you, Eloise.
I have one on the tip of my tongue. I had it a second ago and I lost it. I'm going to have to give it later. But I did see when I was researching your book, I did see that it was #1 in Australia. And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
It was very cool. I was like, quick, screenshot.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got like a whole folder of like screenshots that are like emotional moments for me. Those little firsts, you know.
And every time I hit #1, I took a screenshot of it. I'm like, people don't need to know I hit #1 again. I already did it like several times.
Yeah.
They don't need to know
I
again.
need it. Yeah. This is for me.
Yeah.
It's so boring for people now.
Yeah.
Emma, this next question might be a little cheeky. I don't know. You tell me.
Good question. I thought of it.
Did Iris and Sergio ever want to kick one of those closed doors open? Was that ever?
No.
Was that ever?
No, they didn't. My mother-in-law reads my books.
Yeah, there was a lot of behind the scenes going on with between comments of Adrian who wanted a lot more.
I was hoping for a little spice. I mean, you got this like, suave Latino guy. You got this woman who's just head over heels for him, clearly. And I'm like, yo, it's fiery in that bedroom. I need to know what's going on in there. But
You don't need to take this personally, Adrian. It wasn't personal. It's just that my mother-in-law reads all my books.
I don't take it
That's
personally.
the
I
reason.
just wanted to crack the door open a little bit and take what's going on in there.
Fair enough. Well,
Because
Sergio's
Sergio's into some stuff.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, there's going to be a sequel.
Do tell.
I've had people ask because they were very sad that they didn't get to see Iris and Sergio actually getting married. And so there is going to be a sequel novella next year where they get married, hopefully, but I'm sure that it won't be all smooth for them. So fingers crossed.
I was going to say, I mean, if it's going to be a sequel, you're talking about something longer than just like, here's a bonus chapter of them getting married, then there has to be something that goes wrong.
Yeah, it's going to be a decent sized novella with all the anguish. I think there's going to be an evil cousin. I think Sergio is going to have an evil cousin that's trying to break them up.
On a scale of English muffin to Indian curry, spice? English muffin for sure.
My 22-year-old son was asking me about my newest release, and I was like, yeah, and I was just, oh wait, I do have like the word like I have a female body part word name in my book, and I'm like, but then I have a novella that I wrote that's way spicier, like it's curry spice. I'm like, Jay, don't read my books. He was like, why? Because he was like,
just don't.
I'm an adult. I know this stuff. I was like, but this is your mom. Yes, that's how you see me. That's what he said to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, my son's gonna read my stuff. Oh well,
just fine.
Hey, this is the risk that we take.
Yeah, you just say you're not paying for the therapy, okay? It's his choice. You can deal with it. What's really funny about what Eloisa said is that in Great Britain, your English muffin or your bit of crumpets is actually a little bit spicy, a little bit cheeky when you say that.
A little bit.
Well, there was a little bit of spice in her thoughts, maybe. I don't know. I did think of my question. So you do have 2 new books out that are nonfiction that you wrote and you published, self-published. I'm assuming your publisher knows of them, and how did that work? Like, did you like inform them ahead of time and they're like, yeah, no problem? Or did you have to get permission to be able to do that? Or I mean, I don't know what the legalities are there.
Good question.
No, I didn't have to get permission. I'm required to give them first dibs on my next contemporary romance book, although if they put an offer in for it, then I don't have to accept it, but I do have to offer it to them first. But that is only for contemporary romance. So anything else I write, like I'm writing Regency romance at the moment, I'm under no obligation to show that to them. Either I can send that to whoever I want or self-publish it if I wanted to.
But you told them about your nonfiction books that you published? Was that just like courtesy?
They know that they're out there. They know that they exist.
Gotcha. I mean, they probably look at it as, anything that's putting your name in front of people is probably helpful for your brand overall. So
yeah, marketing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, did you have to leave at 5 as per usual today?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Then please, if you have any last questions that you want to get out. No? Okay. I just want to give you a chance before we ran out of time for you.
I'm trying to look through my notes. I got nothing.
It was such a brisk read, I must say. Like, I really did like fly through the chapters. Nice short chapters, short and sweet. I was waiting for like a murder, but that's on me. That has nothing to do with you. Like, I'm like, who's gonna die? Where's the blood?
Romance, Adrian.
I don't read romance.
No.
It's not fantasy romance or sci-fi romance where you can't have people die. It's regular romance.
But regular romance is set in the real world to some extent.
How often do you know people who die?
Emma Bennet romances. Yeah, Emma Bennet romances are not set in the real world. That's the thing.
Romance is not set in the real world. None of these romances are set in the real world.
Yeah,
that's
I sent a few months ago. I sent a partial manuscript to my editor because I was completely stuck. I was like, something is not right with this manuscript. I don't know where I've gone wrong. Like, help me. Can you tell me what's wrong with it? And she pointed out that my hero was basically awful, and that's what was wrong. And I was like, oh yeah, good point. But the other thing is that I wanted him. I didn't want him. It sounds really mean. He was going to have an abusive father, and I wasn't going to go into great detail about this, but it was part of what formed him. But my editor said, no, that's not Emma Bennet. That isn't what your readers want to read about. They don't want anything that heavy. You know,
So no serial
it's escapism. It's like, yeah, no serial killers. I mean, I do my book that's being republished next year, Her Sister's Baby, that does have a death at the very beginning, but we kind of have to get the sister out of the way so that we can have the baby, who's really cute, you know, center stage. But you know, that was a necessary evil. She had to go, but generally, there's no more.
I'm noting a theme with your titles.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, his secret daughter, her sister's baby.
At least with those two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it. It's a nice marketing theme. It's cool.
Oh, we have her perfect hero as well.
What's that?
Her Perfect Hero. That's another one of her books.
Her perfect hero.
Right. Yeah.
That's my favorite.
I like these titles. They're good. Okay. I'm out of questions. Anybody else?
I had one, but I discarded because I thought we were trying to get done early so Ben could go. Or not get done early.
I can just bail out. You all can keep going after me.
I don't remember now. I need to start writing this stuff down. I had it and I was like, no, I'm not gonna ask it. And then it's fine.
Yeah, I only had a few, so I think I've already what's it called? Expended? Forget it. I've used them all up. I don't remember the word.
It sounds right.
Yeah. Okay. Emma, do you have any questions for us as readers of your book? This is something that's just occurring to me now that we don't really ask our authors. Do you have any questions for us?
That's a scary question. I love it. Okay. Okay. I know that none of you are really romance readers, but would you consider reading more romance?
I read romance all the time.
Oh, what are you?
I've done it all my life since I was like 9 years old. I've been reading romance.
I did not know that. I knew that you read fantasy, and I know that you read fantasy romance to prepare for your fantasy romance.
I just started fantasy romance like 2 years ago. Yeah, no, because I read everything in our house when I was a kid, but we basically only had romance. That's what my mom had. So I started going through all of her books, and they had smut in them, and I was reading that at 9 years old. But I was a voracious reader. I just wanted to, I read all, we had 3 sets of encyclopedias. I got through all of them before I turned to the romance. So
9.
Yeah. I was like, now I think about it as like why do you have your books out there on a bookshelf for your kids to see and get to?
Yeah. See, that's
my boys know not to read my books.
Sorry?
Yeah.
What was your question?
You definitely don't want them going through your book.
Oh yeah, no, she didn't finish her question. So since we don't normally read romance,
I did, but you.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Shannon does, so that wasn't a good question for Shannon.
Oh.
But this was my first foray into outright romance.
Really?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute of it. I'm
How
happy
do
to
you
read it.
completely avoid this? You're,
Because you have romance in your book. How did you?
I read so many books with romance subplots because most of the books that I read are like giant epics and they have everything in them. I mean, Game of Thrones, the Song of Ice and Fire books have everything in them. Whatever trope you like, there's an example of at least one in there throughout the series. So all that stuff, like kind of, plus, movies, TV, like especially I watch a lot of TV and you have like these long overarching romantic plots and everything. So I get it all through osmosis. But to actually sit down and read an outright romance, I hadn't done that until now. So this was a treat.
Yeah.
Is it me or is the music getting louder? That's a problem. Let's turn it down. All right. Okay. Sorry, go ahead. Go.
So I put it in. So during our discussion, I talked about how the baby was really good. Like she was like a delight and like, she was happy all the time, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, how would this book be different if there was a baby that wasn't a good baby? Because I just think about like my autistic kiddo was not a happy baby and he couldn't communicate. And it just made life heck for everybody.
Sure.
And it was very, like I lost like a ton of weight because I stopped eating because I didn't have time to eat because he was always upset. So, but how have you thought about writing a book with like, if you're doing any more babies, like, would you consider that? Or probably not for your brand, huh? It still have to be a good baby.
That could be added drama though.
Yeah, that's drama.
yeah, it would definitely add drama and potentially bring the parents together.
It could, yeah.
I don't know. I suppose it depends on the type of people that they are.
It could also break up.
Yeah, I think it could be interesting to do. It did really make me laugh though when you were saying that she wouldn't have eaten pesto pasta.
Oh my God!
Because like it
so
was
hard.
just like, what else? Like, what do you feed babies? Of course, like after about
Baby
6 months,
food.
of course they have pasta with pesto.
Pesto pasta as a kid. I'd never heard of like a toddler eating pesto pasta. It was the one moment that like stuck out as really unrealistic to me, and it reminded me of when we read Nightmare Tenant, and I got all pissed off about like the stoner who was like a jerk. I'm like, when do you ever like meet an aggressive like?
No stoner's ever been a jerk. Yeah.
First of all, I know plenty of aggressive stoners. Second of all, we found. Oh yeah, I know a lot of people are trash. Second of all, we found out that that's based off a real thing.
Yeah, which led me to believe that maybe she has like a Spanish husband. Again, because pasta, you know.
It's like little kids. They eat pasta. That's what you give little kids.
Yeah, like plain pasta or maybe with melted butter on it, but like nothing crazy.
That's what they eat.
Marinara is a barely maybe. Pesto just does seem a little weird.
No, your 4-year-old loves mushrooms and avocados. What?
Well, actually, when my oldest was 4, his favorite food was broccoli. So I can see.
Who are these children?
Yeah. So one of my cousins, he came over to visit me, and he might have been, I don't know, let's say 16 at the time. And I'm like, yeah, so what do you want for dinner? There's like this great place, this great place, this great place. And he's like, yeah, just, make me some pasta and just throw a little butter in there and, I'll call it a day. I'm like, dude, you're 16. Like, come on, man. Give me something better than that.
Yeah.
There's like,
I've had that.
There are a lot of really good food
I've had these enormous teenagers coming around to my house. And I'm like, what can I make you? You want some food? And it's plain pasta with a little bit of butter on it. Maybe if they're feeling crazy, maybe some cheese. But,
see, I just know my 4-year-old, and my 4-year-old is like, I like chicken nuggets, but only the ones shaped as dinosaurs. If it's not shaped as a dinosaur, it doesn't taste good, and I don't want anything to do with it. And I'm like, dude, it's the same thing. Just shove it in your mouth. He's like, no, I don't like it.
I was also a very picky eater as a kid.
Meanwhile, my MIL is over 60 and only eats chicken strips and cheese pizzas. To be fair, so do I. All right. Cool. Any other questions? No? We good? Do you guys want to do the winner of the poll?
Ooh.
Okay, let's do this. I'm going to share my screen. Here it comes. If I can figure it out. All right. Here we go. So we had 2 polls going. We had one here on YouTube. We had one as a Google form that was posted in various places, including Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff. We got a really good turnout for both. We got 38 votes on YouTube. We got 28 votes on the Google Doc. And it started out like a really nice race. And then once David Hopkins told his people about it, they just came in and stole the show. So it was a landslide victory for the Triad's crown in a pretty big way. Let me do this. Yeah, there we go. So we will be reading The Dryad's Crown by David Hopkins. Now, for those of us in the panel, Sir David Hopkins has been so generous as to offer us audiobook downloads for free. The 4, maybe 5 if Emma joins us. The 4 to 5 of us, if Emma joins us, will be able to read or listen to, rather.
I'm partially tone deaf, so audiobooks don't work for me.
It is also on Kindle Unlimited and paperback and ebook and et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to work that out, no problem. And it's going to be awesome. I'm I nominated it, so obviously I'm glad that it won. But really, like, I don't get to read too much that isn't involved with Tuber Book Club, so I'm glad that it won because I really, really want to read this book. It is a fantasy epic written by a Shakespeare nerd. I mean, sign me
I
up.
saw a few of those comments earlier.
Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah.
The
So
first scene too.
off air, we will talk about scheduling. I will announce the schedule to everybody on the Tuber Book Club Facebook as well as the newsletter. So whichever way that you get your Tuber Book Club news, you will be alerted to when these episodes are going to go up, how many episodes, and I will schedule a interview with Mr. David Hopkins, who's in the chat, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed, but he's in there.
I saw him.
Right.
I saw him.
Yeah.
Hey, David.
No, I'm talking to the people at home. I know you saw him. All right. Emma, thank you so much for being with us today. This has been great. I was so happy to read this. It was a nice little like palate cleanser after my book, which was just, right? And this next one is going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if we'll get to it this year because the holidays are coming up, and typically we tend to take the holidays off. But we might be able to fit it in. No, I don't know. We'll see. If not, we'll get to it first thing in January. But we'll figure that out off air and talk about that later. Thank you guys so very much. I'm gonna give you guys time to do your outros, Miss Emma Bennet.
Oh, I have to go first. Okay. Thank you guys so much for having me. This was pretty painless. This wasn't too bad at all. I have a YouTube channel. Go and check it out if you haven't already. I write contemporary romance as well as children's picture books, non-fiction for writers. I'm also a freelance developmental editor, and I am a writing coach. And all those details are on my channel or on my website, which is www.emma-bennett.co.uk. Thanks for watching.
And that link is in the description below as of a few minutes ago because I forgot to put it in, but it's in there now. Ben!
Hey everyone, I am Ben Pick, writing to write every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I give questionable writing advice through writing metaphors. I also have my books, Falling Through Expanding Cracks, and I'm working on a third right now, which is with the editors, with the first of several editors. And it is a modern fantasy about a group of teenagers who get superpowers and deal with the responsibilities and repercussions of that.
Hello, and thank you everybody for coming today. My name is Shannon. I write under the pen name of S.C. Houston. I write fantasy and fantasy romance. My fantasy you can find on all book platforms. Sorry, I think I was hearing something.
You bored Ben so hard that he yawned.
No, he started yawning.
I'm supposed to be on mute when I'm off screen. That's how StreamYard works.
Just didn't work that way. I was like, wait, what's going on?
I'm sorry.
You gotta mute, Ben. You gotta mute.
Ben is like, I've heard this before.
Yes, a few times.
How many times?
Well, Ben is my co-host for Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks with Morgan Lee. So, we do get together every now and then and do a bunch of author interviews and talk to people in the industry of writing and publishing and marketing books. And that's Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks. We have an episode coming out today. It's a short one. It's just a tip or trick of the week. So those are shorter episodes. Also, the founder and conference chair of the AuthorTube Writing Conference, which is going to go June 28th through the 30th. I give myself a heart attack if it was that quick. But June 28th through the 30th of next year, and applications for that will be opening up in a little over a month. And you can find my latest novel on Indiegogo. It's called A Curse of Scales and Feathers, which is a fantasy romance. And it'll probably be on Indiegogo for at least the next 2 months. I'm looking at probably right now.
Awesome. And I have been Adrian Santiago. I'm the author of the MYTHIC series. The first book in the series is Shadow of the Spark. Check it out. It's awesome. Murder mystery, sci-fi fantasy, LGBTQ characters in lead roles, all kinds of other very, very spicy scenes in here. Okay. If you can't deal with spice, just don't even pick it up. I don't want a bad review from you. It gets naughty. All right. It gets naughty. All right, y'all. Thank you so very much once again for being with us. To everybody in the chat that participated, thank you so very much. We will see you again in a few weeks and or maybe months. I don't know when we do the next book. Thank you all so very much. Write on, writers. We are outie.